Let's head to Vancouver now, powered by General Mills. He is our steward on the seawall today, Christian Jack, joining Bet365 for the win. KJ, a pleasure, as always, to welcome you to the program. I know you had the opportunity to attend Canada training today, and I'm sure there were many players you guys were keenly aware of how much they were participating, what the different units looked like. Not that Jesse Marsh was going to show you too much in those 15 minutes, but I digress. Let's start with Jonathan David, one of the players to watch and certainly players to discuss ahead of the match against Qatar after he was subbed out in the 61st minute. What's the latest?
Yeah, that's right. We joined Canada at training this morning here, and obviously 2 days without availability. It was interesting to see what would be new and what would develop out of the training today at the UBC, Vancouver Whitecaps training facility for Canada that they're taking over here, at least for the group stage, and certainly one that they hope to take over as well for the knockout stage. More of that later, whether Canada can win this group. But you alluded to it. We're getting a lot of firsts in this World Cup, and I have to say one of the things I did not expect to be talking about during this World Cup was whether Jonathan David should be starting the next match. There's some of the questions that are actually being asked right now by some members of the Canadian media, and some people are questioning whether Jonathan David's starting spot is in jeopardy ahead of their game on Thursday here against Qatar. You have to remember this: Jonathan David, no goals in 12 games internationally from open play. Did get the 2 goals in March from the penalty spot against Iceland. His touches in the box average are down dramatically in the last 10 matches compared to the ones prior to that. And also, Jesse Marsh removed him in that game after 62 minutes, the earliest he's ever been removed with Canada down by 1 goal in his career. It's over 78 caps. However, it is Jonathan David, and he is the record goal scorer for this team for a reason. But when we asked the players today who were made available about it, you could tell that they were very much in his camp.
Yeah, about Jonathan and his quality, I don't think we need to talk. We all know what he's capable of, how intelligent he is, and he's come up big for us countless times when his back's been against the wall and him scoring. So we know what Jonathan's about. We know he's going to come for us in these next games.
100%. He's done it in the past before, and he's going to continue to do it. We have no reason to doubt him, and he's obviously even keel. He's cool. He's collected, and we have all the confidence in the world in him to score goals.
It's Jonathan David, man. I don't think anybody's thinking twice or about him, performing and scoring goals. You know what he's done for us. It's one game. I'm sure he's gonna, he'll find the back of the net one way or another. And you can see he's the same. He's not. You can tell he's not seeing any. You don't see any effects of it. And yeah, probably the best striker I've played with. Probably the best striker I've played with. Yeah, he's complete. He's a good player, smart player. Can finish the ball. Can play football well.
Jonathan David, 39 goals in 78 caps. You don't have to be a fantastic mathematician to work out the numbers. 1 goal every 2 international games. However, that is the lowest ratio he has ever had in his career. And if he doesn't score this week against Qatar, suddenly that drops to more than 1 goal every 2 games. So the first time in his career. So something to keep an eye on. But we've been here before, Copa America, when he was in a little bit of a slump. And then, of course, he got the big winner against Peru in that second half. So Amy, Gareth, obviously this is a player that many people know that you don't have to worry about with Canada, but we're in a World Cup, and everything right now is a story.
And when Canada doesn't have a true talisman, David can't just be content to play provider to facilitate the play. We know all the work he does out of possession. It's not enough to just knit together the midfield and the front line. He needs to bag goals. We saw Kyle Aaron do it, a player that he's dueled with at the top of goal scoring for the men's national team program. But when you distill it down, Wheels, you need your best striker to score. And currently, he's not doing that.
Yeah, he didn't look like himself in the game on Friday. That was the issue. Like, his touch on the ball was a little bit heavy. Obviously, the really good chance where he could have made it 1-0 for Canada in the 17th minute. But I'm going to buy track record here. And I'm going to just still buy the fact that Jonathan David is the best of the bunch that Canada has. KJ, you said the stat, like, no goals from open play in 12, but Kyle Larin has 1. Taniel O'Shea doesn't have 1, and Promise David's still not fully fit, returning from injury. It's not whether to replace Jonathan David. It's about how to get him going. And I think the biggest thing, he needs touches inside the area. He needs to get the ball in places where he can be dangerous. And for me, that is up to the wide players. Tajon Buchanan and Liam Miller and the complementary players around him. If you get the ball in dangerous places, we know what Jonathan David can do. I'm going to just chalk off the early chance to just a bad moment for Jonathan David. But if this team's going to have any level of success here at this World Cup, Jonathan David's going to be front and center. He has to be starting. I just can't believe that just after a couple of poor performances, that this is the conversation that's being had. Like, I'm absolutely shocked that this is the conversation that's being had right now.
I'm absolutely shocked, KJ, that we have two groups now where all 8 teams have a goal scored, conceded, and a point. How are Canada feeling about this series of ones that face them in Group B?
Well, remember this, prior to the 2026 FIFA Men's World Cup, has only ever happened twice before, where 2 games have started the group with 1-1. Once back in 1990, the big famous group between England, the Dutch, the Irish, and the Egyptians. And then in 2010, you remember that group with Italy, Slovakia, Paraguay were in that group with New Zealand as well. And those games, bred draws. Ultimately, they kept going and kept having more draws in those groups. We just saw another game end 1-1. So what is that now, the count? 10 games out of 15 where we've had 2 goals or less. So there's a lot of rust right now. There's not a lot of open play apart from when you watch the Swedes or the Germans. And I think that speaks a lot also to the fact that opening games in this World Cup are very tense because they know that if they can get a draw, suddenly they're in good positions, knowing you can finish third and advance in a group. It no longer is advantageous to open it up. So there's a lot of talk right now about the World Cup and whether there's more attacking play or less of it because of the new format. And also from coast to coast, everybody talking about what does it mean for Canada. We talked about it over the last few shows. Remember the importance of Switzerland not losing that game before Canada, just to eliminate that 4-4, 4-4, where you could get beat on 4 points. But we talked to the players again today, and obviously Nico Segur, Joel Waterman, and Ali Ahmed, you could tell within their own camp they're working things out as well.
I think we can look at it as if we're all on even points with 2 games to left, as if the first game, it's the same goal differential. We want to go and win. That's it. If we win, we put ourselves in a good position. We have to take it game by game. So yeah, let's get these 3 points and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, it's wide open. Same as before. We want to top the group. The focus has never changed for us. So obviously it's a big game on Thursday to beat Qatar, and then we got to try and beat Switzerland as well. We're going to try and pick up the 6 points and go into the next round.
1 game at a time. We're really studying Qatar and just trying to take it. We're not looking too far ahead, but it's hard not to, obviously. But 1 game at a time. I think to bounce back and use some momentum that we had from the second half of Bosnia. Just go in and try and replicate that second half against Qatar and get 3 points there, and then we can start talking and looking about whatever amount of points we need to try and top the group so we can stay in Vancouver.
In order to simplify it, just win. This is the name of the show. For the win. Get 3 points and everything else should work out. Ultimately, Canada will be very unlucky to get to 4 points and not advance through this group. The scenario remains that could happen if Bosnia beats Switzerland. And obviously, the key now for Canada is to make sure that doesn't happen. And why is that important? If Canada are to just win against Qatar here on Thursday and the Swiss don't lose that game, then we can all say after that, even though it won't be official, that Canada will be in that knockout stage, which is so vital to be able to do after 2 games. Remember, when we're in Qatar, after 2 games, Canada were the first team eliminated from the World Cup.
Gareth, how are you feeling about this potential 4-4-4 scenario? And is it really just as simple as go out and win?
Yes, of course. You're playing at home against Qatar next game. You're playing at home in Vancouver against Switzerland in the last game. Canada is in a position where they're right where they need to be right now. The only change is that Switzerland, by virtue of not winning their last game, can't go on and clinch top spot in the group through 2 games after the 1-1 result with Canada and Bosnia before. So there's going to be no rest or rotation there for Switzerland. Other than that, nothing really changes for this group. And now I think Canada needs to go about, yes, focused on Qatar, a game that they should win. But it's really interesting when you see KJ speaking with certain players today. Now, certain players that are made available to the media, sometimes it means nothing, sometimes it means something. I just wonder if there's a way that Ali Ahmed is available to start next game, which I think would be progress for Canada. I think he's an irreplaceable team a player in a starting 11 that if he was fully fit, he would have been starting last week in that opener in Toronto Stadium. And Joel Waterman's an interesting one as well. Like, don't sleep on Joel, especially in a game where Canada, if against Qatar, they're going to be on the ball even a little bit more. He's really good on possession. He's really good in distribution. And if you want to preserve or maintain Luc Dufugiral and some of the players that may be on a card, then this is the way to do it. So I found that interesting that Ahmed and Waterman spoke to the team today. But yeah, go on and beat Qatar. None of that other stuff bothers me at this point. Pick up as many points as possible, and they should be on 4 points by this time next week, going into a game where they have the ability to go on and win the group. And Ali Ahmed said it. Staying in Vancouver, that is the priority, not only for potentially 1 knockout game, but 2 knockout games. And Canada, it's within their own hands. They control their own destiny right now, and that's all you can ask for in a tournament like this.
Yeah, there's a bunch of what you said there, Wheels, that I like, but I think we can't forget that Canada getting something out of that Bosnia match meant that they got a historic first point, and they were able to do that at home. So you build on that, you don't discount it. I think that's marred a little bit by Qatar getting that draw at the death versus the Swiss. But as Joel said, the goal was always to win. This match coming up next was always the match they needed to win. And something that Ali Ahmed said, they need to replicate that second half performance. So do they do that via perhaps the man himself stepping into that starting 11, or to your other point, Wheels, about the yellow cards with Luc Dufugiral and Alistair being on yellows, does Nico Segur get some valuable minutes to keep him fresh as you project forward in the tournament?
Well, KJ, as Gareth just touched on some potential changes, but really it depends on how Jesse Marsch views the players in their individual duels and their fitness, most importantly. What sort of injury update can you provide the viewers tonight?
Well, just to mention something to follow up on what Gareth was talking about, that, you know, this is a FIFA Men's World Cup. We got to cover it in Toronto, and there's a lot of Vancouver news media covering it here. When you think about the players that were made available today, Nico Segur, obviously from Burnaby, we've told that story. Ball boy at BC Place for Canada against when they played in 2019. In the soccer media and the people watching, there's a lot of those stories already known, but those stories are now being told on different news networks across BC. That's why Ali Ahmed spoke, because as a former Whitecaps player, obviously Aldergrove BC's own Joel Waterman as well. So those were the 3 players made available to us mainly for that reason. But also, you know, it's on us to find other stories within this as well. Ali Ahmed is very an interesting case, because if he hadn't have got a hamstring injury for Norwich on the last day of the championship season against Liam Miller's Hull City, by the way, his replacement, Ali Ahmed would have played last week. He would have been starting that game with Marcelo Flores being injured, undoubtedly. It was somebody that Jesse Marsch told me last year was my best pressing player and my #1 player to play on the left wing. In the time from the Copa America, when he made his big debut there as a starter against Uruguay, all the way to last year's fall internationals, he started 15 of 19 games. Ali Ahmed in that position, and he only really lost his position when he got sent off and then got injured. So interesting to see whether if he comes back in. And we talked to Ali today about his health update after playing 30 minutes on Friday.
Yeah, when I came on, I just wanted to bring a little energy, and I think just be confident and honestly not overthink things. Just play like another game, and I'll have another day and time to really reflect about these games. I don't want to get too caught up in the moment. Of course, it's special, but just honestly just came on and try to treat it like another game, and bring energy to the team. And I felt like the guys on Bosnia were getting tired, and I was fresh legs, so like I said, just wanted to just bring some energy to kill them.
Could you start?
Yeah, I'm healthy. I think that 30 minutes was really important for me. I think it felt like a long time since I got a run like that. So I think even that first 30, I think I was a little not in my sharpest in terms of fitness. But now I think with that, I think I'm good to go now.
So that's great news. Another piece of really good, important news. Ali Ahmed, remember this, if he believes he can go from the start, traditionally, when he does start for Canada, he averages around about 65 to 70 minutes, gets his energy out and pressing, and then they bring on a replacement. So what are we? Less than 72 hours away. If we were to play head coach right now, I'd have my vote. I definitely would play him. I think he needs to start, and I think he would start with Tejan Buchanan on the other flank as well. I don't know what you think, Amy, but I think he's probably done enough just to take over from Liam, as he did a little bit at the Copa America.
Yeah, I agree. I think if there's a change, it will be Ali Ahmed, but on that left wing. We know when he first started with Canada, he was mostly Tajon's backup, but he's done enough, all of the stats that you underline, KJ, to show that he is the guy in that left wing. And then maybe perhaps until Alphonso Davies is healthy enough to come back, but I really don't think that he would displace Ali Ahmed. And he's in an interesting profile and provides something that a more direct and vertical Schaffelberg does not. I mean, even though he's cut in the mold and very much the player for this system under Jesse Marsch, I think Ali Ahmed almost gives you a hybrid between a Schaff and a Marcelo Flores, and it has that on offer. And so what he said and what I mentioned earlier is replicate that second half performance. This team had the tempo, they had the speed of play, and they were able to get into those central channels. We saw how that goal was devised, and they need to do more of that versus Qatar.
There's no player that embodies what Jesse Marsch wants more than Ali Ahmed for me, because that ability to press, like KJ alluded to, that's everything. You know, press, force the ball to be given away or turned over, loss of possession, and then go and attack. And he can play direct. He's awkward to deal with. I mean, we discussed this in the build-up to the World Cup. He did more than enough to lock down a starting spot. And I think the best version of this Canada side has him in the starting 11. And I really like how Jesse Marsch used him for those 65, 70 minutes, then went on and bring a different type of player. The thing is, if Ali Ahmed is available in that way, I think Schaffelberg might be the preferred player to come in to replace him in games like that, opposed to a Liam Miller. I thought that Liam is very active. He's obviously a quality player, but his distribution, his productivity in the final third, for me, isn't quite there. It's not quite at the level that Canada requires or needs right now. So Ahmed getting into this team and getting healthy enough to at least contend to start, it's essential for this Canadian team in order to progress and see the best version of this team.
And KJ, is there anything you can add on Moise Bombito's status?
Yeah, just a quick one from training. Obviously, you would have seen all across our socials this morning, we reported Alphonso Davies remains in return to play protocol. What we saw of it, not really doing a lot of ball work with teammates, a lot of individual work, but in his boots. Moise Bombito, one of the earliest players I saw out there, already going through a lot of that physicality training that he needed to do, working on different things with the physios as well. So really positive to see, and in full training for the second straight day. His first full training was match day -1 prior to the game against Bosnia. We were told then he was made available. He would be available if possible. Seems like he's now possibly available for this game as well. And just one thing to keep in mind, again, we all want this. If Canada are leading late in the game, often Jesse Marsch likes to refer to that back three and put on another player there. So maybe it's an opportunity if Bombito can't start, that he can come on and hold Canada's lead for 10 or 15 minutes near the end here in Vancouver on Thursday, Adam.
Well, KJ, we've had so much negative injury news in the lead up to the World Cup. Every bit of positive news is certainly welcome. We thank you for joining us, KJ, live on location for One Soccer, powered by General Mills.